What I want to talk about today is a pitcher that had some really interesting comments about the Dodgers. And that is Tatsuya Imai. Now, Tatsuya Imai, he's projected to make 6 years, $150 million. He was posted by the Cebu Lions. He's the best foreign pitcher in this year's class. This could be the biggest contract for any pitcher this offseason, potentially. We'll see. He had a 2.34 ERA last year. He had a 1.92 ERA in 163 and 2/3 innings this past season. And you look at his production. He's one of 6 NPB pitchers with at least 100 innings who's allowed fewer earned runs per 9. Imai ranked second in NPB with 178 strikeouts, led the league with a 27.8% strikeout rate. He's Japan's top pitcher, and he's coming over. And anytime you hear Japanese pitcher, you immediately link him with the Los Angeles Dodgers. That's always what's going to happen. This is a different scenario this time around, just because this time around, it looks like the Dodgers don't have that advantage, that the Dodgers don't and won't potentially get Tatsuya Imai, because he made some very interesting comments, and it is that he wants to take down the Dodgers, saying that I want to take them down. He's got his eyes set on wanting to beat the Dodgers. Interesting stuff, because you know that's respectable for a lot of different ways, but also it's, okay, do you really want to impact your market like that? If I was him, I would try to make it seem like I was going to sign with the Dodgers and hope that another team would have to overpay for me just to pry me away from them. But here was his exact quote. It was about the Dodgers. Of course, I'd enjoy playing alongside Ohtani, Yamamoto, and Sasaki, Imai told former Major League pitcher and 2-time World Baseball Classic champion Daisuke Matsuzaka. He was on his show, Hodo Nation. And we know Daisuke is great. I mean, Daisuke was one of those pioneers, too, that came over here to the show. But he would go on to say, but winning against a team like that and becoming a world champion would be the most valuable thing in my life. If anything, I'd rather take them down. He would go on to say, if there were another Japanese player on the same team, I could just ask them about anything, right? But that's actually not what I'm looking for. In a way, I want to experience that sense of survival. When I come face to face with cultural differences, I want to see how I can overcome them on my own. That's a part of what I'm excited about. So that's him talking about the challenges of going to Major League Baseball. And clearly he wants to forge his own path, and he doesn't want to be in the shadow of Ohtani and Yamamoto and Sasaki. He's a talented pitcher. He really is. I mean, you look at the scouting report, he's been compared to Kodai Senga, the Mets starter who's on the trade block this offseason. He's got a fastball that can go mid-90s. NPB batters hit 189 against him. He was really good. He said, my best pitch is probably my fastball. The key is not aiming low. I'm always trying to throw it up in the zone, about to mask it for the catcher to set up normally. But this is a guy that maybe he was a sleeper. Maybe he was someone just because of his ties. You would say, oh, he's going to be a Dodger. Just get it over with already. But clearly that's not going to be the case. And this could be the first offseason where you get 2 big Japanese players in Murakami and Imai, and both of them are not going to be Dodgers. So, look, this will be interesting when they match up with each other. It'll be interesting to see where he ends up going. If you look at some of the projections, they have had 6 years, $150 million, and he's linked to teams like the Cubs, the Mets. But there were some in the industry that thought that the Dodgers did have the chance to potentially sneak in here and just get him because of who they are. But you look at the Dodgers rotation, if everyone's healthy, Yamamoto, he can win a Cy Young next year. Glass now, he's nasty when healthy. Blake Snell can win another Cy Young next year if he stays on the mound. Shohei Ohtani, when he's right, he's as good as it gets. And then the big question for the rotation is, Does Roki Sasaki establish himself as a legitimate bona fide starting pitcher in Major League Baseball? Or will he get off to a slow start, and then you'll hear people saying, oh, he should be in the bullpen? So that's going to be interesting. And then there's the biggest wild card of them all. That is, do the Dodgers get involved with Detroit Tigers ace Tarik Skubal? Because if you go out there and you trade for Tarik Skubal, you're not going to feel like you missed out on Tatsuya Imai. And I have seen a lot of Dodgers fans kind of treat the rotation as the afterthought, saying that there's not a need there. I push back on that wholeheartedly. I could not disagree more. I'm actually shocked that Dodgers fans are like, oh, we're good. We're totally fine for the rotation, as if they didn't have issues in 2024, as if Blake Snell and Tyler Glasnow didn't miss significant time, as if Yoshinobu Yamamoto didn't pitch almost 180 innings and lead them in the World Series, as if Shohei Ohtani is not coming off a second Tommy John surgery, as if Roki Sasaki hasn't established himself in the show. For any Dodgers fan that thinks that the rotation is fine, I don't know what Dodgers team you've been watching for the last couple of years, because certainly if they stay healthy, yeah, for sure they're fine. But that's if with a capital I and a capital F. There's no guarantees that any rotation in Major League Baseball is going to stay healthy, let alone guys that have pitched a lot, coming off injuries, pitched deep into the postseason. I look at 2024. What happened in 2024? You leaned on 2.5 starters and a bullpen that was forced to cover 60+% of the outs in the postseason, right? What happened to that bullpen the next year? Blake Trinan wasn't the same. Evan Phillips wasn't the same, had Tommy John surgery. Michael Kopech wasn't the same. They paid the bill for the bullpen during the regular season and in the postseason, and who knows? That could be the case for the rotation. So I'm just here to drop truth bombs. I'm here to push back on lazy narratives, and I'm here to tell you that certainly they could be in the need for another starting pitcher. I'm trying to cash in on some of those trade chips to go out there and get another outfielder, like maybe a Byron Buxton. The issue I've kind of heard from Byron Buxton is he kind of wants to fit in some DH at some point, and you'd have to play him in the outfield essentially the entire time, so that's something to consider as well. But if you can get Tarik Skubal this offseason, I'm doing it. I'm picking him up at the airport. Like I said, if the Dodgers trade for Tarik Skubal and I have a son, his name will be Tarik Patrick McKain Skubal III. That's what he's going to be known as. So, yeah, this is interesting. By the way, for Imai, I'm sure he's endearing himself to the rest of Major League Baseball. All 29 other fan bases probably love this guy. And I will say, long-haired pitcher who wants to be the Dodgers kind of feels like a San Francisco Giant. Kind of feels like a San Francisco Giant. But wouldn't it be funny at the end of the day, after all that, after him saying all this stuff, that he just signs with the Dodgers anyway? I mean, that would just be amazing. It would make Major League Baseball very unhappy. My prediction, it kind of feels like the Cubs or the Mets, depending on... I think it'd be a perfect fit for the Giants if he's going to talk that talk. The Red Sox, that's another team. But yeah, hey, I don't know. If I'm him, I would try to... I think that's more of... There's probably not a lot of... Maybe the Dodgers aren't being aggressive towards pursuing him, and this is his way of like, hey, I didn't want to be on the Dodgers anyway. I mean, you didn't invite me to the party. I'm not going. I don't want to go to your party anyway. You didn't invite me. It's a bad party. I'll go to another party, right? So that's probably the case there. All right, let's get some comments. We've got BC definitely going back-to-back MVPs. We looking at D-Max Pat. I'm actually in Florida, in Orlando, visiting my dad and some family down here. My family down here. My dad and his wife, they live out in Florida these days. I got family near Miami, Fort Lauderdale area down there, my wife's side. So I'm in from LA to FLA this week. So yeah, this is a room here. And hopefully the quality is okay. Hopefully I'm coming in right sound-wise. So yeah, look, a lot of people take off this week. Not me, not us. You guys, we need to talk Dodger baseball and LA sports. So yeah, sunscreen, bro. Who do you think he will personally go to, D-Mac? Like I said, I think it's the Cubs. I think it's the Mets, Red Sox, Giants. If he's going to pop off like that a little bit. So that's interesting. I'm surprised he would say that. But before we get to our next topic, we're going to talk Rams. Rams might be the best team in the land. In fact, they are the best team in the land. But first, this episode of Dodgers Dugout Live and the LA Sports Report and the Los Angeles Sports Report Network is brought to you by our friends over at NordVPN. This is a great product. This is something, if you're into the VPN game, this is where it's at. And just a quick timeout, because you're a Dodgers fan like me, you know there's nothing worse than gearing up for the first pitch and there's a blackout restriction keeping you from watching the game you paid to see. Let's fix that with today's sponsor, NordVPN. A VPN is a virtual private network, meaning I can change my virtual location with just a few clicks. This masks my true IP address, making it appear that I'm anywhere in the world. NordVPN lets you change your virtual location with just one click, so no matter where you are while traveling to places that aren't available, you can access content from back home. Traveling, living outside the market, or maybe your streaming service decides tonight is the night to hit you with one of those annoying blackout messages. NordVPN fixes that. And look, it's not just for streaming. NordVPN keeps your connection secure, your data encrypted, and your online activity private. So whether you're watching highlights, checking stats, or arguing with the starting lineup online, you're protected. And of course, all the classics benefit of VPN are at your disposal too. The NordVPN threat protection feature that protects you from viruses and malicious malware, and NordVPN accounts that you can be used on 10 devices. So that's great too. Even better, you can try NordVPN risk-free thanks to their 30-day money-back guarantee. And to get the best discount off your NordVPN plan, go to https://nordvpn.com/Dodgers. Our link also will give you 4 extra months on the 2-year plan. Again, there's no risk with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee. The link is in the podcast episode description box. That's nordvpn.com/Dodgers. Protect yourself online and make sure you never miss a Dodgers game again. Huge thanks to NordVPN for sponsoring today's episode. So definitely get in the mix with NordVPN.